What's up my loves, my name is Paige, this is Pages with Paige, and today we're going to be doing the Mary Shelley book tag. At the end of the video, I will also be doing my TBR for the Mary Shelley-A-Thon, which is created by Caitlyn from Mad Cheshire Rabbit. I'll leave her channel and the link to the announcement video in the description box below. And yeah, this is running throughout the whole month of August, and she tagged me to do the book tag, so I'll do the tag and then tell you what my TBR is. The first prompt is a book that has had more than one screen adaptation, and I've decided to go with Alice's Adventure in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. I really loved the 1995, 6, somewhere around there, live action film with Gene Wilder, Whoopi Goldberg, and a few other famous celebrities that I just really love. I think they were the perfect dynamic for the book's eccentricness. And yeah, so this is just following Alice's adventures into Wonderland. The next is a book about forbidden love, and I've decided to go with A Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. This is a age gap romance, so technically it's forbidden that way, and originally it starts off with a girl meeting an older gentleman, and it turns out that that older gentleman is actually her boyfriend's father. So yeah, it definitely deals with it appropriately and in a way that's not creepy, and was just really good, and I absolutely love this book, so definitely would recommend. The next is A Deceased Parent, and I'm going with Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. I read this recently, and it's following two girls and their split perspective as they learn of the death of their father and realize that the other exists. And I think that it was beautifully told in verse. Definitely listen to the audiobook if you're interested in going down that route. And yeah, it was just a really wonderful book. The next is set in a different country than the author who wrote it. So I'm going with The Burning by Laura Bates. This is mostly set in Scotland after a girl has to run away from her English town where she grew up due to events. But Laura Bates is actually British, so set in a separate area, and I thought this was really interesting. I quite enjoyed the female empowerment that comes through this book. The next is a classic monster or horror book that you haven't got to yet, and I'm sorry, Caitlyn. So I haven't actually read Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, so this is one that I haven't got to yet. And yeah, I'm doing this book tag and I have no idea what it's about, but I have every intention of reading this, so we will see this later on. The next is One or More Conflicted Sibling Relationships, and I've decided to go with Girls Made of Stars by Ashley Herring Blake. I absolutely adore Ashley Herring Blake's writing, and this is following Mara and Owen, who are twins, and Mara's best friend accuses Owen of raping her. So there is definitely conflict between believing your friend, but how could your twin do something like that? And so their relationship becomes really strained, and especially with the family, with how people support Owen and don't necessarily believe the victim, and it's following Mara's decision to support her friend who she knows would never lie about something like that. The next is a book that has more than one protagonist, and I'm going with Lovely War by Julie Berry. So this is following 4 individuals during World War I and World War II, but is told from the perspective of the different gods. So we have Hades, Aphrodite, Apollo, Ares. It's a really interesting take, and I really enjoyed having the gods narrate what was happening in the world and giving sort of an explanation for why things were happening the way that it was. The next prompt is a book that deals with grief, and I've gone with The Astonishing Colour of After by Emily X.R. Pam. This is following Leah when her mother dies, and she believes that her mother has committed suicide and turned into a mysterious red bird. And so she follows this bird to Taiwan and meets her grandparents, and it's her coping with the grief of losing her mother. It was really powerful and really beautiful. The next is a book that deals with isolation, and I thought this was perfect, and that's Circe by Madeline Miller. So this is following Circe throughout her entire life, but for a large segment of it, she is isolated on an island where she learns to grow in herself and in her witchcraft. She is banished to the remote island of Aiea, but it's through her isolation that she is able to find herself and becomes a witch that she would never have been living with the gods. And finally, this prompt was the hardest, and that's a book that deals with the theme of science versus religion, and I ended up going with Elantris. So my connection is that the magic in this is very science-based. It has a lot of having to do rigorous study, performing the actions in a particular way to make particular things happen, and then you have the flip side where faith is a big component, and the villain is essentially the person that is trying to push the faith onto these people to abandon the magic that is happening. So it's more magic versus religion, but for me, the science elements are so connected to the magic that it makes sense to include this. And yeah, and it's how they deal with the loss of the magic, the loss of the science, the loss of technology. It was really, really fascinating, and I really love Brandon Sanderson's writing. So the Mary Shelley-A-Thon is running throughout the entire month of August. So I was thinking about it, and I'm trying to fit things that I'm really excited in that work with everything. So I have one book that doubles up for 3 prompts, and then another 2 books that fulfill a prompt each. So the first prompt is to read a book by Mary Shelley, and as stated earlier, I would like to get to Frankenstein. Now is the time for me to read this. I have the audiobook on Audible, and I'm going to physically read along because I found that I did that with Taming of the Shrew by William Shakespeare, and it was so good. I got so much more out of it. So I'm really excited to do this method of reading to be able to actually experience a classic and enjoy it. The next prompt is to read a book that has a female protagonist. So I'm going to fit in one that my mum picked for me, and that is Amanda So Discreet by Minnie McGuinness. This is following a girl, Grace, who is locked in an insane asylum, I believe. And yeah, so I think it will be pretty dark, a little bit thrillery, so I'm excited to have that link in with the theme of the Readathon. The next is a book published in 1818, and so for that, I'll be reading Frankenstein because I figured it was easier just to double up on the prompts than to try and find another classic text that I wasn't as interested in and just then make myself slog through it when I'm already fulfilling the challenge by reading it. And then the next prompt is a gothic and or horror. So for this, I can, again, put in Frankenstein, pretty self-explanatory, but another one that I could be doing is The Roses of May by Dot Hutchinson, and that is a horror thriller sort of book. So I'll have to double check and see if it actually fulfills the horror prompt. I would be keen to do that, but yeah, otherwise definitely going with Frankenstein. The last prompt is a retelling of your favorite book. My favorite book is Matilda, and there are no retellings of it. So I was having a look at new releases that I was interested in, and there's Cinderella is Dead by Caitlyn, and this is a retelling or more a continuation on the Cinderella story, and it gives it a bit of a twist. So yeah, I'm really curious to see what this is about. I really don't know too much about it and would like to go in blind. I just heard that it's really, really interesting. And yeah, this and Cinderella is Dead are the books that I'm hoping to read for the Mary Shelley-A-Thon and support Caitlyn that way. I do also have her book that she has written, Samuel Novak, so I'll leave a link to the ebook and paperback purchase sites linked below. And yeah, let me know in the comments below, are you a fan of Mary Shelley, Frankenstein? Have you read any Mary Shelley? And if so, what's your favorite? Are you interested in doing the book tag? I'm going to leave this as an open tag. If you would like to do it, leave a link to your video when you post it or your answers below. And yeah, if you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of this mess, feel free to subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you in my next video. Bye!